learn more about in Game 3, the C's or the Cavs?
We didn't learn anything about either team that we didn't already know going in. Boston, listen, think about this game going into Game 3. Like, what were we all thinking? Did we all think the Cavs were just going to lose Game 3? No, we all predicted the Cavs would win. And that game, Game 3, why? Well, like, think about how these things go. Boston on the road. How have they done on the road in these playoffs? Not well. They're a home team. And largely, I think that's because they're a young team. And young teams need to learn how to win on the road. Boston isn't quite there yet. They can win on the road, but they're much, much better at home. That's one. Two, LeBron needs his role players. He needs someone to do something resembling anything. And we know that the Cavs' role players play much better at home. So the Cavs being at home, LeBron's going to get more help, and he'll be facing a team that doesn't play as well. And finally, guys, LeBron down 0-2 in a playoff series. We were expecting a monster game from him, that he was going to somehow will them to victory. You know, even if the role players didn't show up to the extent that they did, LeBron would figure out a way not to go down 0-3. So everything lined up, all the information we had going into the game made us think the Cavs would win, and they won. What did we learn?
Well, it's not a matter of what we learned, Max Kellerman. It's a matter of what we've been reminded for because we chose to forget. We saw how tremendous Boston has been, considering their youth, their youthful exuberance. We've seen the way that they've advanced to the conference finals without Kyrie Irving, the way they played throughout the season without Gordon Hayward, who went down in Game 1. They had like a 28-13 record on the road during the regular season. But then the playoffs arrived. They lost all 3 road games in the first round against Milwaukee. They lost 1 of the 2 road games against Philly in the second round. And in this round, the first road game, they've lost to Cleveland. So what it shows us is that they're hellified at home. They're undefeated basically at home. They won all their home games against Milwaukee. They won their home games against the Philadelphia 76ers, obviously, and they won their 2 home games against Cleveland. And so when you look at it from that perspective, you got to give credit where credit is due, recognizing the fact that this team is so talented, considering its youth, the promise that it has moving forward. It's the real process that's taking place in Boston, not the process that everybody was asking us to trust in Philadelphia. Having said all of that, to go to Cleveland, losing is not a big deal. You lost at Philly. Getting beat down is an entirely different matter altogether. And when you get beat down and the person beating you down happens to be the greatest player of our generation in LeBron James, now you got yourself a problem. Because if Cleveland ends up winning in thorough fashion, it is not beyond the realm of comprehension that LeBron and Cleveland can carry that momentum back to Boston, because it's LeBron leading the way as opposed to the Greek freak or puppies like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. That's why you have to be concerned about what happened in Game 3, but we'll still see what happens in Game 4 tonight.
Look, if it goes back, if you want to project forward, yes, on the road in the playoffs, superstars got to show up, right? Like, and LeBron has shown in the past he can show up on the road. What's that?
I said, I'm not projecting. I'm giving you what's happened already.
Yeah, right. LeBron has shown up on the road in previous playoff series. And so we know he can do that. It's something James Harden didn't do about Golden State. It's one of the things we're talking about today and arguing about. But what I'm saying in terms of what team did we learn more about, look, let's say Boston would have won the game, or it would have been really tight and they lose on the road. Then we say, hey, we learned something about Boston. They're a better road team than maybe we're giving them credit for. That didn't happen. Even the fact that it's a huge margin, Stephen A., I don't think that says anything about that we didn't already know. I think much like the Houston Golden State game, this is the modern NBA. Everyone's shooting the 3 ball, and teams at a certain point realize, we ain't going to win tonight. We're packing it in. You know, and usually that happens sometime mid-late third quarter, you know, and then the score gets run up. So I wouldn't read too much into the wide margin of victory for the Cavs. I didn't see anything in the game that really told me something that I need to know. Cleveland still hasn't won on the road, and Boston doesn't need to in order to win the series. I just don't think we learned anything about either team, or were even necessarily reminded, you know, about something particularly that we had overlooked. We knew LeBron was going to be great. We figured his role players would be better at home than on the road. We knew Boston wasn't very good there. Check, check, check. You know, I'm still waiting. Maybe Game 4 will teach us something, but I didn't see anything in Game 3.